Some relationships come into our lives for only a certain amount of time because maybe they were here to help us with a specific situation, or maybe they were here to show us a wound that we had inside, or a way that we didn't have to cope. Maybe we were hiding. Maybe we were allowing them to make us feel powerful or strong. Maybe we fell for the fool's gold and we went for the material and thought that if we went with somebody who had more money, our lives would be perfect. There are so many reasons why relationships don't work for a human being. But the important thing is to not judge yourself or the other human being, to instead learn to detach from that situation, having love still in your heart, and hope for their outcome and yours. How do you let go of a relationship that's no longer working for you, or you may have outgrown? There are so many people stuck in dead-end relationships in the world. There are so many relationships that people are using to hide. They're hiding their best opportunities from themselves and their own development because they're too afraid to look at the truth that's happening underneath the surface. The people around them typically can see these relationships aren't healthy. They can be very toxic, and they can be difficult to be around for others. Maybe you've seen a couple like this. Everything they do, they bicker about, they argue, they set up difficulty for one another, they're competitive, they're dominant, they become toxic, and that toxic energy can be felt by anybody else around them, and it can make people very unnerved and uncomfortable. If you've been around people like this, you'll understand why everybody else wishes that they could get it together, that they could see the truth, that they could realize a strength in themselves to fix whatever's happening in their lives. But they often do not. And because there are so many bad relationships out there, it causes other people to not want to enter relationships at all. Many people have even given up on relationships. They don't believe monogamy is a good idea anymore because there's so many people that are in relationships that lead very poor examples. I'm here to tell you that relationships are sacred. They affect every part of your life. So if you're in a relationship that is toxic or negative or dangerous, or you feel that tug from inside of yourself that says, this isn't right for me, I'm not being fed this way, I feel thirsty, I'm hungry for more, I don't feel satisfied, then it's time for you to listen to that, because this relationship is not serving you and the highest potential of your soul. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it means to be in a relationship that is not serving you anymore and what you can do about that. It makes sense why we have a difficult time letting go of attachments. After all, we spend a lot of time investing in the relationships that we have. We use our finances, we use our emotions, we use our thinking, we build our bridges with our friend communities together. People in our career know who we're dating or who we're with and who we're committed to. So letting go of the commitment to certain people in our lives can be very scary and difficult for some of us because we've come to build our lives around this person, around the things that make them wonderful and the things that make them difficult to be with. We've become accustomed to learning to live with those patterns and those habits. And oftentimes, if we're not careful, we will grow accustomed a little too much and become codependent. And so it's very important, no matter what type of relationship you're in or what stage in your relationship you're in, that you analyze the quality of the experience that you're having on a personal level, on a soul development level, and on the level of what you're able to offer this person and whether that's in their best interest for their journey as well. It's not easy to consider how we could have a life outside of commitments that we've made to others sometimes. Sometimes the devil you know is the devil you've learned to live with. But that's not always in our best interest. It's important that we embrace the strength in our heart and in our truth, to really be honest with ourselves about what's helping us and what's just not working, what is actually maybe keeping us from developing the best opportunities that we could in life. There are many people that I've experienced in my lifetime that are suffering in relationships that are no longer serving them. They have a difficult time seeing beyond that moment in their lives to know what else could be possible, and oftentimes aren't willing to let go of what they already have if they can't see already what's possible. But I'll let you in on a little secret. There is an intelligence system that operates all around us in the ethosphere and inside of our hearts, in the doorway to our soul. And that intelligence is always there to help us fulfill what we came here to fulfill. You see, we are born of this amazing seed. This seed, it has germination whenever it experiences love, and it has the ability to connect to others and give the best of ourselves to another. And so as we germinate that seed within us, we grow in a way that helps us mature in a spiritual way and in an emotional way, in a way that helps our behaviors mature. And when it's done really well, when we're with the person that really aids our soul growth and our human needs for maturation, then you will see the most incredible lives sprout from two people in the union that were meant to be together. This can be seen by everyone in the community when a really beautiful couple that loves each other and can grow together and deepen in that experience are actually working on each other's lives and soul development together. The most amazing relationships come from this. But sometimes we have to go through a lot of different life experiences and choices before we arrive to the relationship that really meets the needs that we have to grow. You see, relationships are like a mirror. They help us to understand what needs healing inside of each of us. They are not only here to give us good times and good feelings and social ways to engage with one another, but they're also here to show us what our trauma is, what our pain is, what our struggle is, what type of character traits we have, and what we still need to be working on. They are also here to show us our stories that we believe about ourselves. Do we believe we're worthy of love? Do we believe that we're worthy of being treated well? Are we allowing for ourselves to be put in a position that the highest honor and good can come from us and the person with us? You see, the mirror helps us to know the truth. And so all relationships are born from a mirror from within inside of yourself. You've chosen someone who is in your life because at some point in your life, this person was mirroring you, mirroring your values, mirroring your interests, and mirroring how you wanted to feel about yourself. If the relationship is no longer working for you, if the relationship is causing you stress and angst and anxiety, then that's the time to look in the mirror. That's the time to examine what is happening with yourself. We have to be careful not to hide ourselves from our true potential. Oftentimes, we choose relationships of co-grouping, and we co-group with people who have the same sort of either traumas, difficulties, or coping mechanisms, or value sets. So it is important to analyze from an objective standpoint why you got together with this person. What is it that really connects you and bonds you together? And whether or not that's healthy, what is it that your soul came here to do? Look at the whole totality of your life and imagine the best life you could imagine for yourself from your heart space. Now, I'm not talking about materialism. Okay, I'm not saying imagine a mansion and having your own private jet. These are insignificant things. If you really want to understand how to have a life of meaning and great value, what you have to do is go through an analyzation process to understand if this person that you're committed to is actually in your best interest to be and stay committed to. So you really want to look at what value comes from this relationship in my life. Is it a value of finance? Is it a value of sex? Is it a value of the way they make you feel? Maybe they come with certain friends. Maybe they come with material. Really trying to understand what it is that bonds the two of you together is the first step. What it is that feels really right about this relationship and what it is that feels really wrong about this relationship. Are they arguing with you all the time? Are they competing with you? Are they dominant? Do they have terrible habits that make you fall into bad habits yourself? Or are they uplifting you? Are they teaching you things? Are they sharing with you the things that they're learning about themselves and their growth journey? Are they helping you feel confident for you to take your own growth journey and for you to know what's valuable about yourself? These are different ways of looking at how to analyze this situation. Let's just look at that bigger picture for a moment and have you really understand what it is that feels inside of your heart and soul that you came here to do. Maybe you don't know that in all ways yet, but you might feel a gentle tug. And that tug might be there saying, hey, this isn't the right person for you. If you feel that tug, then ask, what is it? Ask your body to give you the information. What is not right? Write all that down on a piece of paper. If your body is saying, no, this person is the right person, write all of that down on a piece of paper. And look at those two different columns. And then I would like you to analyze what you feel at different stages in your life you would like to experience. Maybe you got together with this person when you were in your 20s, and this person reflected a part of your life that you were in. But maybe now you're in your 50s and this person has been wreaking havoc in your life and you can't figure out what your life means to you because your life has become so difficult to even live. So it's important to analyze at different stages of your living what it is that you feel you would like to be living. Maybe if you're in your 50s, you project out, how would I like to feel when I'm 60, when I'm 70, when I'm 80? How would I like to be treated? How would I like that environment to look? Will it look safe? Will it look friendly? Will it look cooperative? Or does it look competitive? Does it look difficult? Do I have to stay perpetually youthful? This will help you analyze whether the characteristics that this person is bringing you make sense for you as you age, as you grow, and as you spiritually and physically mature. If the answer is no, this person won't be good for that process, then it's okay to accept that knowledge and that truth and to say thank you. Thank you to your soul, thank you to your body, and thank you to God for opening up that information to you. Because this is an opening for you to have a whole new ability to take you to the next level of learning and experience. Another thing to process is whether or not this relationship has already taught you the things that you feel you needed to learn. Let's take, for instance, that you started dating someone and that experience made you feel like maybe one of your parents made you feel. Maybe you have a father who never showed you approval. He never gave you what you needed to feel valid and secure. And so the first relationship you enter did the same thing to you. This person made you feel invalid and insecure and have to fight for everything that you needed. If you're in a situation like that, it's important to pay attention to how this person matched your wounding from your childhood and close that gap do the processing work to heal that childhood gap so that another person that matches that wounding pattern does not come along again. There is a built-in mechanism into how the intelligence around us works that will keep bringing us the same thing that needs to be healed within ourselves until we realize that that's what's communicating to us, is this field within us that's trying to be healed. And so until you kind of wake up and go, oh wow, there's a mirroring happening here. I have a wound inside and I've attracted somebody who's stoking those wounds. Now, once you realize that, it's important to analyze this process and analyze what that wounding was about. How was God using this person to really awaken you in a way that will help you to understand what your pain is inside, what your trauma is that might need to be healed, what invalidation you feel or insecurity you feel, or whatever that wounding is, to learn to communicate with it, to learn to understand what it has to tell you about your pain and suffering, so that you can take ownership over that pain and suffering, and then you can move into the next stage of relationship, a whole new person, very different, very changed, and not looking for the same dynamics you once were. It's important to analyze whether or not this partner that you're with is just repeating the same mistakes that you've already learned. Maybe you're a person who's in a relationship with somebody and you're getting frustrated over and over and over again because it feels like you keep repeating the same mistakes with this person and they're not learning, but you keep seeing it over and over and over again. This is a wake-up call because something's not happening in that person that's happening in you. You're realizing and you're stuck in a growth pattern, but this person is not. So you have an option to go to this person and help awaken them to what they're not realizing. But if they refuse that process, then you have to go autonomously into considering what's best for yourself. And this is important to do because if you don't do this, not only will you fall into a pit, but they will too. And their clinging to you and needing it to be you will destroy both of you spiritually, because we came here to evolve and grow no matter how difficult the task is or how much pain and suffering it causes. And to hide and to use one another as a shield to hide from the growth and the truth of life that's just here to give us the best options and outcomes is really robbing yourself of your destiny. When you do a good job of really analyzing this first step, the ability to know what right action is becomes pretty clear. And the next stage that happens though, if let's just say what becomes clear is that you need to break up with them, is fear can arise. The fear of the uncertainty, of the unknown. And if you feel fear arise, I want you just to acknowledge it and acknowledge that it's there. I want you to give yourself compassion. I want you to say to your soul and to your body, don't worry, there's nothing to fear. Everything is going to be absolutely okay. Something better is coming next. Something that we've really needed and something we're really excited about. We don't know what that is yet, but we have faith and trust, and we believe that all things are working for the good of us. So what happens once you've realized that this person or this relationship is not really in your best interest anymore, that you've outgrown it, that you now see that and you really want to believe in yourself and go through the next level of growth spiritually and in this world as a human being? What do? The first step is to be honest, compassionate, and kind. To tell them your truth, what you've discovered, what you know about yourself, what you know about your needs, and what you intend upon doing with that in a very kind and loving and compassionate way. It's important to have empathy for what they're hearing and feeling, because the scariest thing in the world for someone is to be left behind. The scariest thing in the world is for them to realize that they are unacceptable and you very much could be triggering a rejection wound within them that could have been there for a long time. So the pain and suffering that they might potentially feel by you breaking up with them, it can be sincere, but it's important not to let this knowledge hijack you and make your decision different, because you'll just lose even more time waiting for them to catch up. They might just need to be alone before they come to terms with things as they are and actually start doing a good work in their own lives. It's important to recognize that you can still love someone and you can still befriend them, even if you're not in a committed relationship. You don't have to go into a situation where everyone on both sides of this commitment is destroyed just because the relationship breaks up. This is what most people think. Most people believe that once a relationship is over, the worst things happen. Both parties are destroyed and they have to rebuild their lives again. And sadly, that is the case in a lot of situations. But it's only because people don't know how to continue on with love and being loving, even if they're not committed to someone. You can still be their friend, and you can still choose to be kind to them and support them as long as they can be fair to you. This is what is important. Then you can still have that relationship available to you. Breaking up with someone does not mean that you have to lose a friend. It's only necessary if that person needs to go on their own path of maturation that you disconnect. And there are many situations where this is true, where disconnection is a very important thing to do, because if you stay in the life of someone who hates you and is angry that you broke up with them and only wants to see you fall and manipulates outcomes to cause you harm, then that's a dangerous relationship to keep intact and to keep around. It's better that you have your own private life away from that so that you can grow and mature in the way that is natural to you without having someone who has made an enemy out of you bombard you with their hatred and toxicity. And since breakups can trigger the ugliness in people, it can bring out their trauma wounds, it can make them feel rejection, it can make them feel not good enough, it can make them feel shame in front of their friends, and it can make them lie and manipulate their friends and their people around them to believe that they're a victim. The most ugliest characteristics can come from someone who feels rejection, isolation, and shame. Be prepared that this can happen, but make sure that you always maintain impeccable integrity, to be compassionate and kind, and to not ever gossip negatively behind their back. They may not ever appreciate that, but you never know. It really could change their life should they find out the high road that you've taken. Now, it doesn't mean that if there aren't very dangerous elements about this person that you shouldn't warn people. It means that you shouldn't talk negatively about people behind their backs. That can cause them to lose their dignity and can create shame. They're already feeling shame because you're breaking up with them. So it's important to understand that their hardship is beginning and you don't want to contribute to that. And it's okay to outgrow people. It's okay if your relationship doesn't work, if it's the right time to separate and split and to start anew. It's important to accept and to see the truth and to work with the truth and to move on, because so many beautiful things can come when you accept the truth as it's showing you. There doesn't need to be an enemy. Sometimes things just happen in life and we grow apart. We're here to really focus on our journey. We develop ourselves as humans, as emotional beings. We develop psychologically. We develop relationally with relationships. We develop our career paths, and we develop spiritually. There's a multitude of different levels in how we're always developing at the same exact time. And so it's important to understand everyone can start developing their lives without toxicity or blame. But that can only happen if you take ownership of how you speak about that partner that you've broken up with, and how you take ownership of your own feelings, your own decisions, and your own difficulties. Making sure not to blame and accuse someone else, but rather taking ownership of the decision you made to be with that person, and really focusing on what you learned from that relationship and how it taught you something about yourself, and how it taught you your value and what you'd like to learn next and how you'd like to be treated next. Every experience that we learn and suffer through helps us to widen in our perspective of who we are and what potential we have to turn that ship around. When you do this well, this will allow each of you to separate and start on a new, clean, and fresh path. And that pathway forward will be so wonderful for all your friends and family to see when you can break up in a way that is integral and doesn't destroy the other. Then everyone else around you will not feel like they have to separate and divide. They won't have to pick sides and choose to only stay in touch with one of the other sides. They won't be in that position, and they'll very much appreciate that, because then they'll be around to help each of you in whatever way feels natural and necessary. And who knows, you might even be a leading example in some of your own friends' lives who are having hidden issues that they are having a difficult time knowing how to come to terms with too. It also helps others, all of your friends and family members, to feel more comfortable around you when they see that you can take the high road and you don't have to destroy this person. You don't have to speak negative toxicity. And they can immediately see what a benefit it was for you to have left them and started your own journey. They will look for you to guide them when they have difficult emotional experiences to navigate. It's also very important for children, because children are very sensitive to the feelings of the caregivers that are around them. So in order for them to feel that each caregiver is safe, they want to see that you don't have to annihilate one another, that you can be kind to one another, that you can understand that everyone wins when everyone's needs are met with the highest intention. Some relationships come into our lives for only a certain amount of time, because maybe they were here to help us with a specific situation. Or maybe they were here to show us a wound that we had inside, or a way that we didn't have to cope. Maybe we were hiding. Maybe we were allowing them to make us feel powerful or strong. Maybe we fell for the fool's gold and we went for the material and thought that if we went with somebody who had more money, our lives would be perfect. There are so many reasons why relationships don't work for a human being. But the important thing is to not judge yourself or the other human being, to instead learn to detach from that situation, having love still in your heart, and hope for their outcome and yours. You don't have to lose the beauty in your heart and soul just because you've experienced difficult things in this life. You can choose to let go and love someone, even if it means you don't have contact anymore. But it's important that you take ownership of your life and your choices, and that you find the faith and the courage to see your soul plan through. If you have any topics on relationships that you would like me to address as an empath, please leave those in the comments section below. I love helping people to understand how to live their best lives and how to really show up in the best way possible. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you for listening. Be well.